Hey, folks, welcome to Free Press Sports with Carlos and Shawn. Forgive us for not being there for you Sunday after the Lions dispiriting. I don't even remember the score, Carlos. It feels like it's been so long, but it really hasn't. It's kind of lingering. And anyway, in any case, I hope you forgive us. We weren't able to record Sunday, but we are here now to help assuage you, to help soothe your feelings, or we can help, we can vent with you a little bit if you need to get it off your chest. Carlos is an expert in that. It's good to see you, brother. How you doing?
Good, Shawn. How are you? I'm sorry too. I was too sad to record. That's really the fact of the matter. My Lions disappointed us. Everybody in the Free Press was on the Lions bandwagon. We all picked them to win, and they got roughed up by your Bears out there in Chicago. They probably had a really good dinner with you somewhere in Chicago, Shawn. You probably ate some Italian beef, like your hero from the Bear show does. And then, they were all emboldened and took it to your little Lions.
Yeah, every now and again, we have to make these picks, right? For the Free Press. We don't have to. No. We have to. I'm just going to be upfront about it. I'm just going to, I don't like, it's the least favorite part of the job for me.
Is that why you write 10 words every time?
I don't enjoy doing
4 or 5 paragraphs.
Yeah, I don't enjoy doing it. I don't. And we have to do it.
Why?
I just don't. I don't. I just don't like it. It's not part of, I feel like a, Vegas bookie. It's not, I don't like making picks. I just never have. I've never participated in any kind of, maybe when I was a teenager, I bought some squares in the NCAA pool. But I've never done that. I've never done holiday bowl pools. It's just not
Fantasy
my thing.
League? Fantasy teams? No.
I was in Vegas for a wedding in the early 90s. It's the first time I was in Vegas. And I played the slots maybe a couple times, and that was it. Other than that, I just wanted to eat king crab leg and steak and watch Wayne Newton sing, which I did, by the way. And walk
Donkey
around.
Shane? How was he with Donkey Shane? I've never seen it in person.
He was great. It was great. It was probably 1993, and he was still in peak form, and he was great. No, it's just not my thing. In any case, and so sure enough, I got the pick last week. And every now and again, I go against my better judgment, and I did, and I don't know why I do that. Sometimes I pick somebody to lose or win based on it, and I just thought, no, the Bears are playing pretty well right now, and they're going to win this game. And I thought, maybe the Lions will find a way to hold on late, and I hate when I do that. So we're wrong, right, Carlos? Part of the time with these picks, we're just going to be wrong. It's the nature of it.
I haven't been wrong yet, I don't think. But yeah.
But I don't like it when we're wrong. I don't like it when we're wrong when you go against your own sort of sense. You follow your gut over your head, or you follow your head over your gut, whatever, because they don't always match.
It's just that internal turmoil that you don't like. That's that one measly little pick just unravels you, doesn't it?
No, I don't like I associate it with gambling somehow, and it's just not for me.
Hey, that's our culture now, buddy. What are you talking about?
Well, I know it is. I know it is, and that's why I do it. It's just not. I'm more of somebody I'm a process person. I like to figure out why things are the way they are and why they happen, or whatever. Break stuff down after it happens, or that kind of thing. It's just how my brain works. So I just have never enjoyed the picks.
So what you're saying is you're going to make the pick after the game so that you make sure you weigh every possible permutation, the results, and then you can finally weigh in.
And I don't care. Yeah. And I don't care about being wrong. That's not the issue. But I knew the Bears were going to win, and I went against myself. And I've done that once or twice in the last couple of years. It frustrates the crap out of me. But in any case, yes, the Lions did not play great. The Bears are coming on a little bit. The NFC North might be a different league or different division next year. I mean, that's a subject for a different day. But although the Packers, right, they lose to the Giants.
Packers?
They lose to the Giants Monday night. They kind of flubbed that away, so they can still get into the playoffs. But that was not for a team that was rolling. You know what? It reminded me a little bit last year when the Lions start rolling in the second half, and then they said the stinker in Carolina. Carolina wasn't that good, right? So
terrible.
Anyway, yeah, exactly. That was not a good loss. I think that's what happened to the Packers the other night. It happens when you start off the way the Packers did. You leave yourself so little room for, to make a comeback that it's hard to play great week in and week out. It just is in the NFL. I mean, for that long a period, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it was their chance and they blew it. And like you said, kind of like the Lions, they just had no margin for error. And, they lost to a bad team, New York Giants. So that's it for them. So I think it's, I mean, and isn't this, I mean, this is so unlike the Lions, right? Is like everything's working out for them, even when they're struggling. The other teams are losing, and the Vikings are to their third quarterback, and it's like it's working out.
No, it totally is. And the Packers was the big one because they actually were playing pretty good ball, and their quarterback Jordan Love was starting to look like like something. And so for them to have that, that gives them a lot of breathing room, because if they'd beaten the Giants Monday night, I think. Look, they need to beat the Broncos Saturday night for several reasons. But if the Packers hadn't lost, they were going to be fighting for the division, right, down the stretch. And can you imagine we were saying that 3-4 weeks ago?
Yeah. I mean, it's unlikely. Yeah. That could have been, I mean, I don't know. Are the Packers technically out? I don't think they're technically out of it, but yeah, it definitely gives them a little bit of breathing room. And the Packers definitely would have been the most dangerous team that could possibly do something and take I don't know what is.
No, they're not technically. No, they're not technically out of it. I mean,
with 4, no, it's not over yet. But
yeah,
they still got to be a little bit. I mean, because the Packers have a fairly easy schedule. So
they have a very easy schedule, and they could get to 10-7 now, right? They could still win their next 4, get to 10-7.
Right.
The Lions could go 1-3, and then at that point, how do the tiebreakers go? Especially if it depends on who the Lions lose to, right? Divisional opponents, they have the Vikings twice. After head-to-head, it's divisional record, and that would depend on what the Lions do. But yeah, no, you're right. It's not technically done. But overall, Carlos, what do you see? And I liked your column the other day, except when you said the Bears stink. They don't.
They stink.
It's like saying the Lions stink. No, it's like last year. It's like saying it's
Justin Fields and they stink.
It's like saying last year the Lions stink. It's like some other writer from some other town who doesn't know anything about the team saying, "Oh, the Lions stink. Look at their record. They're 2-8 or whatever it was before that." You know what I mean? At the beginning of that run, when they started playing a little bit better, their record was still terrible. So to point to the record and say the Lions were playing stinky football, which they were not at that point. And I feel like that's what you said with the Bears. And I don't. They've won 2 in a row. They should have beaten the Lions the third before. They look better. Their defense is better. They made a trade, like you said. You wish the Lions should have done, right, at the deadline. They got Montez Sweat. And they're just coming together. They're playing solid football. It's not Carolina, right? It's not even Atlanta. They're playing decent football, and Fields is a load. But that doesn't excuse it, right? Well, how poorly the Lions played.
Yeah, and I think that's the problem, is the Lions were really like leaning on that, this is a good team over there now. Don't you discount them or whatever. And then they tricked, gullible reporters like you into thinking that. But yeah, that's the thing.
Or people that don't know football like you.
The Bears aren't good. But
they're playing good right now. That's the point.
Playing well and being good is 2 different things. Anybody can play. Are the Giants good because they beat the Packers on one night?
The Giants haven't been rolling the last few weeks. The Bears have been playing like this for a few weeks. The Giants had one night.
They beat Carolina at home, and then they beat Minnesota against their the Lions former practice squad quarterback.
And the Lions needed a miracle. The Lions needed a miracle comeback to beat them 3 weeks ago or 4 weeks ago, whenever it was.
Well, that's more of an indictment about the Lions and not the Bears.
Okay, my God, my
all
brother,
those turnovers that the Lions had in that
game.
Changed?
What changed, Carlos? Justin Fields came back. He's starting to play better. That is a fact. I don't understand how you don't see that. How all people all across the league, wow, the Bears look better. They got a pretty good player, really good player in Montez Sweat. That's a fact. They look better. They've been playing better. It's not subjective. I don't understand that. How can you say they stink when they clearly do not?
The Lions had to come back against the Bears because they played terribly. They had all those turnovers. Goff had, 3 interceptions in that game? I mean, the Bears are not going to end up they're not like catching fire and playing great. And, that's just, they're not a good team right now. They're still, Eberflus might get fired still. They're just not a good team right now. It's an indictment against anybody who loses to the Bears. They're not wholly without talent. I'm not saying that. Everybody in the NFL pretty much has talent and can win a game on any given Sunday, right? But they're just not a good team. To me,
they don't stink. It's lazy to say they stink. It's lazy to say they stink. Carolina stinks. So the Bears and Carolina the same.
They stink. 5 wins.
Oh, really? So what did you say about the Lions last year when they were 1-6 and they started winning? Did you point to the record?
They stunk at 1-6. They did.
Yeah,
but it was a lot of it was their defense.
And after they'd won a couple, what'd you say?
They got better. Well, not I don't know about a couple, but after they got rolling, yeah, of course.
Are the Bears Carolina? Is that what you're telling me? There's bad. Carolina stinks.
No, Carolina
the Bears
is
are on that
putrid.
level?
It's a different level of stink.
Oh my God! You don't.
There are gradations, Shawn. You have to see it's not black and white. They're gray.
You're right. It's not black and white. The Bears are playing solid football right now, and if you can't see that, you don't know football. It's ridiculous. I don't get it.
I don't think they're playing. They're playing okay against bad teams. I'm not saying they're a great team that's struggling.
I'm not saying they're a great team. Look, the Lions did not play well for sure, but to act like they've lost to the worst team in the NFL is ridiculous.
I didn't say that.
You say they stink.
Yeah, they stink. They're bad. They're not good.
No, it's your way of looking at the world and thinking somehow that because the Bears are playing a little bit better, and people that know football that see that somehow they get the wool pulled over their eyes.
5 wins: Washington, Las Vegas, Carolina, a 12-10 win at Minnesota against Josh Dobbs, and then the Lions. That's not company you want to be in. If the Lions had beaten the Bears, which they should have, they would have had 4 games and people would have said, yeah, of course, they're awful. Of course they should have beat them.
That's why you're going back to Washington. Okay, so you're going back to Washington. How did the Lions look back then? Did they look better than they do right now?
What are you talking about? Like the early in the season?
If you're going to go back and say that about the Bears, that they weren't very good at the beginning of the year, which they were not, and then you're not going to apply the same logic to the Lions. The Lions looked a lot better at the beginning of the year too, right? They're going in the opposite direction. Yeah. So you can't fathom that a team can get a little bit better, especially after making a move, especially after getting their quarterback back. You can't fathom that?
They can get a little bit better for sure, but as a team, holistically, they're not good.
Actually, they're not. They're solid right now. They've been competitive lately. They have. I don't know why we're arguing about the Bears. It's just, it's the same reason you're going to go see
assistant editor Tyler Davis would have been very happy. Huge Bears fan. He would have loved this podcast. We should make sure.
Well, it's funny with the word in Chicago right now. It's funny because I was out among fans a little bit too. Is that they felt a little bit better. They felt like maybe they don't have to fire everybody, maybe because they're starting to see something. Right? I mean, and that's how it was last year with the Lions. That's how they feel right now. And that maybe Fields could even be the guy. Who knows? But that's the feeling there, right? Among people that love and follow that team.
Wouldn't they rather, I mean, they're not going to get, they will. They're going to get the number 1 pick because they're getting it from Carolina. But do they really, I don't know, at this point, it's always this whole like tanking thing. Like, what's the point now? We're going to finish, we can finish 3rd in the NFC North, and drop out of the top 10 or something. And I mean, at this point, I would imagine they're fed up and they want a new coach. And the question for them is, do they want to move on from Justin Fields? That's
a tough one, isn't it?
And you have Caleb Williams there. Yeah, that's fascinating, actually.
I love it. It is.
Chicago's a great sports town, and they love the Bears the way that Lions fans, they've had success. But it's a fun team and a fun town to watch them, especially when they have to stew over something that's tough for them.
They do, and I was listening to some of the radio too, and just because anyway, they're even a little bit like, maybe this coach can survive this. It's interesting because there's just been a better vibe around. They like the way the Bears look on the field. They like the way they're playing. There's a toughness about them right now. There's an energy about the way they play. They get after it. They are obviously not the most talented team in the league, but they do have some young pieces. It's interesting. I was talking to a few Lions fans about the loss, and they were a lot more bummed with some of the self-inflicted stuff. They're like, hey, the Bears are actually playing pretty good ball. So it wasn't like, oh my God, we lost to the Bears. It was, we just didn't look good. We made mistakes. And I think that's the larger point, right? On how we got sidetracked on what the Bears are doing or not. It's, I get it. You have your babies. You're going to go right about Aaron Glenn, I'm sure, to protect Ben Johnson. But we can talk about that in the second half.
You're giving away my secret, Shawn. That's how we do it.
You can.
I'm going to check. Okay, you know what though? Let's make a note here. Robin, our producer, is going to make a mental note and write this down on a little, sticky note or whatever. After the Bears get destroyed at Cleveland, this weekend, let's check back on how good your Bears are.
It won't be they're not going to get destroyed. Cleveland, it should be a low score. It'll be a low scoring game. Cleveland's got a good defense, although they've been torched at least once recently. I'm trying to remember who took it to him, dropped 30 plus on him. I wish I could remember who that was. Anyway, I would expect that to be, a little bit like the Minnesota Bears game was a couple of weeks ago. Yeah, we'll see. So,
all right, what about your Lions, though? What's it like in Lions Nation? You spent a lot of time with the Lions fans. You wrote a wonderful story and column about it. What was it? What was it like?
That's coming tomorrow.
Oh, sweet.
Actually. Yeah, no, that's coming tomorrow. So sorry to punctuate your sarcasm.
Tomorrow?
There,
you mean today, the day the podcast drops, right?
Yeah, maybe so. Yeah, you're right. We are in La La Land here with that. But that story's coming. We just needed to give the Lions fans a little time to settle down, to simmer down
now.
No, I don't know. No, seriously, tell me. So what did you see? Oh, my God. I can't believe we wasted that amount of time on the Bears. It's just, your stubbornness. What did you see from the Lions? And what are you most worried about?
I mean, it's the thing that I'm always most worried about is their defense. It can't stop water. It just can't do anything. It's tough, and I think, the one thing about that game that I thought more about, and I did pick the Lions to win it, I felt like, no, they can't lose to the Bears and, all this. And yes, they were playing better and Justin Fields and all that. But it was like the two things were Frank Ragnow and Lee McNeil, like up the middle, right, on defense and offense. And those are big losses. And Aiden Hutchinson just isn't getting much help. John Comiskey played okay. He played well, but he needs more help. And they're just double teaming him on every, play pretty much. And the secondary Brian Branch has just not looked the same. I don't know what's going on. He's just not making the plays he was making early on. I don't know if he's, still hurting from his injury, but it just doesn't seem to be getting any better. And the Bears are not some amazing dynamic offense. So that was the disappointing part is I don't see a fix for this anytime soon. Part of it is the personnel you have. But I don't know enough about football, Shawn. You probably do, about all the schemes and all the things that they're doing.
Not really.
Probably not.
I don't know anything about anything. I am going to remain calm. I'm going to remain calm, and I'm going to assume you watched the game. I'm going to believe.
Yes.
I'm going to believe that you actually watched the game. For you to sit there and say that okay, let me take a deep breath. The offense didn't score in the second half. The team is built around the offense. It's the best unit by far. It starts from the offensive line and goes out. They got a lot of capital and draft picks with skill positions, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Offensive coordinator who's good. Quarterback who had been playing some of the best ball, maybe the best ball of his career, all this sort of stuff. That's all true. They got pieces all up and down. A lot of them are young. And they didn't score a point. And they went 3 straight 3-and-outs to start the second half, starting the third quarter. They scored, what'd they finish with? I think 13 points. They're not built to win that way. It's not what this team's about. The defense actually played fine. To your point about the Bears not having a dynamic passing game, the Fields did get them on one drive passing, and obviously he baited Aiden Hutchinson to jump in and got him on the touchdown on the 4th and 13, which was a big turning point. The game was tied at that point. But I think it helped Chicago to 262 yards overall. That's not bad. They got 27, 28 points. I don't remember the total. I was at the game. But there were short fields, right? They had a botched snap that gave Chicago a short field. Campbell went for it on his own 30 or 31 or whatever on 4th and short and missed it. And that gave him a short field. I think that led to a field goal. So the defense actually wasn't terrible this week. But the offense was. Are you concerned about the offense? You mentioned Frank Ragnow. Sewell may be their most gifted lineman, but Ragnow may well be their most important. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's hard to say who's more important, but there's definitely concern about the offense, and we've seen this before. There's teams that you go against, and if they have good defenses, I don't think the Bears have an amazing defense.
No.
That's the worrisome part, but yeah, the 3-and-outs and Amon-Ra St. Brown just didn't look quite the same to me. I don't think he has. He hasn't played amazing, and I know he definitely gets a lot of attention.
He does. That's a big part of it.
Sam Laporta didn't come to the rescue like he did in New Orleans, so that's another thing. They have enough weapons to be able to do more. Just some weird, drop by Gibbs, I think, on a little, swing pass, and weird little things that the offense just seemed off. Nobody had a great day on offense, I don't think. So they needed them to step up. But also, when you give up 28 points, that's it's tough. You score 13 and they should have scored more. They should have had, the offense had a bad day for sure. But it's like the offense can never have a bad day or it's game over. That's the problem is, I've said it many times. It's like, it's like you playing golf. You're not going to make birdies. You're just going to be going backwards, making bogeys. You can't make up for mistakes.
I can't make a bogey. Are you kidding me? There's no way I can make a bogey. You wish you could make a bogey. There's no way I could make a bogey. No, but the offense actually hurt the defense. It wasn't that they didn't just score. They gave Chicago a couple of short fields, and then it's not being able to pick up a first down, 3 out. The defense is scoring it back. Yeah, it was, other than Baltimore, their worst performance of the year, right, offensively. And the problem was they weren't great against New Orleans. I mean, they were, to start with, they got the turnover early that helped get them out to that 3-score lead. And they look good. They're running the ball. And then all of a sudden, New Orleans tightens up a little bit. And that's the problem. And they stopped running the ball. And then they started struggling against Green Bay on Thanksgiving. Green Bay got to Goff. That was the difference in that game. Right? Goff didn't have time to throw. He didn't have a lot of time to throw against Chicago the first time until late. And they sped it up, started going, hurry up a little bit. So, that to me, that's the thing, right? If there's any kind of pressure at all, the offense really stops, right? It just kind of, especially if they can't run the ball. And they can't run the ball well unless they have the whole line. And that's a very thin line.
Well, we have to remember, the Lions went for it 5 times on 4th down. And I think a lot of this is masked in, Dan Campbell's aggressive and Dan Campbell is never scared and grit and all this stuff. He's going for on 4th down because he doesn't trust his defense. He knows that they don't want to give the ball to the defense because it's almost an automatic 3 points, if not 7. So that's how you protect your defense, is keep the ball in the offense's hands. And I guarantee you that if they had a better defense, they wouldn't be going for it on 4th down. So that's what's leading to some short fields too, is he figures, well, what's the difference between a 50-yard drive or 45-yard drive and a, 68-yard drive? Might as well just go for it here. So that's part of it. And they're never going to admit that. But I guess, you can say for this week or when the offense struggles, the offense is a concern, but we know what the offense is capable of. We don't know what the defense is capable of, really not much. And like you said, the team's built around the offense. Yeah, their star's a 4th round, receiver. They've got a 2nd rounder in Levi Onwuzurike, who's going to be a bust. He's just not ever going to be on the field. He's, constantly hurt and can't get on the field. So when you have issues like that, and Aiden Hutchinson, really good player, but doesn't have any help. Some bad luck with James Houston, but something needs to change with the defense. It's not going to happen this season, but that's always the concern. I guarantee you, if you're a Lions fan, you're watching the game, Lions offense is on the field, you feel pretty good. Defense comes on, and you're just kind of, clutching your heart here and like, well, okay, let's see if we can, hold them and maybe just give up a field goal. Let's see what happens. But it's going to be rough, man. You can't count on anything. The offense can't have any stumbles, and the defense has to hopefully play somehow better football when you get to the playoffs, because every team's going to be good.
Yeah, the offense is the source of concern with Lions fans right now. The defense has been what it's been all year. They played fairly okay against Chicago. The Bears don't have they do have some talent. And DJ Moore is really good, and Fields is great running it, and threw the ball a couple times, but they didn't go up and down the field. They did to start the game, and then they had one other drive, and that was it. Like I said, 262 total yards. And he went for those. I agree with you on the 4th downs late in the games, keep the ball in the offense because they doesn't trust that they can get the stop. But that wasn't the case Sunday. They went for it on the 4th in their own 30 because they were down 2 scores early in the 4th quarter. It wasn't for fear of giving the ball back for defense. It's that they'd gone 3 and outs in the 3rd quarter, and he was desperate to get the offense going. That was more about the offense than the defense. Yes, on the whole, when he's gone for it this year, especially late, it's because he trusts the offense to win the game more than the defense, for sure. But it was weird Sunday because it wasn't really that. It was like, how can we get the offense going? That's twice in 3 weeks. They didn't look good against Green Bay either. And, I don't know why you bring up St. Brown and 4th-round pick or whatever. Their best players their best grouping of players has been on the offense. I mean, they got 2 they got 2 all-pro level linemen. You know what I mean? And I don't know that they have any players on the defensive side that are like that. Do you think? I mean, Hutchinson's not there yet. He's not an all-pro level player yet.
No, he's not an all-pro level player, but I'm just saying that you're saying they're built around, you built teams depending on how you draft, and they're not like ignoring, Jack Campbell's a 1st-round draft pick. Brian Branch is a 2nd-round draft pick. It's not like they're ignoring the defense.
No, for sure. For sure.
I don't think Aaron Glenn's getting the most out of these players. That's another problem developmentally. We look at the offense and you look at your offensive players, and part of it is because it's very easy to judge whether somebody makes a play or not. On defense, it's harder, but they're certainly devoting resources to that side of the ball. And for whatever reason, whether it's Aaron Glenn not developing them or they're just busts on their own or they're just slow to develop or whatever it is, they're not making the same impact that you need them to make. And I think that has a lot to do with the coordinator.
They're missing 4 starters, right? Good players.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about that. But let's take a quick break because I want to talk about the development. I want to hear your explanation of why you don't think Aleem McNeil or Derek Barnes or some of these other players have gotten better when they've actually gotten a lot better, especially McNeil. But anyway, let's take a quick break and we'll come right back with more Free Press Sports with Carlos and Shawn. Welcome back to Free Press Sports with Carlos and Shawn. All right, so who's not developed under Aaron Glenn?
Jack Campbell isn't, as developed as Sam Laporta.
He's a rookie.
Let's start right there. He's a rookie. What's Sam Laporta?
A rookie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
right.
And Campbell had his best game of the year against New Orleans. You were there. I assume you saw it. And he played okay against Chicago. Not too bad.
Great.
Yeah, no.
Contract extension for Aaron Glenn.
No, but he's looked better. So the Campbell's a horrible example. He's actually playing better right now. So he's gotten better as the season has gone on. Look, I get it with Onwuzurike. And part of him is he can't stay healthy. McNeil's gotten a lot better. Derek Barnes has gotten better.
McNeil's always been good. There's been no problem with Aleem McNeil.
But he's been promising from the start, but he's gotten better. Laporta's always been good. What's the difference?
Laporta's always been good. He just magically was just always good. He had nothing. Ben Johnson had nothing to do with that.
And Aaron Glenn has nothing to do with Aleem McNeil becoming the player he's become. He's become a really good player. And he was not that when he stepped on the field. I don't understand this. Where's this coming from?
He hasn't gotten the most out of these players, yes, there's been injuries, but even part of it is the draft picks, but part of it's not just the draft picks, it's everybody on the defense. It's just they're not functioning well holistically, and you need guys to step up. Obviously, you need your stars, you need the guys you lean on, but you need the unit to play well holistically. And, since the start of the season when they were playing worse teams, they've definitely just regressed. And is this something I have to really defend, Shawn? They're...
Yeah, you do, because
they're giving up 20 points to the Bears. They lost C.J. Gardner-Johnson. To St. Louis.
They lost C.J. Gardner-Johnson. They didn't even get Mosley, who was supposed to be their best cornerback, which would have put Sutton at the second quarterback, who's been okay, right? He's been solid. Jared Jacobs certainly struggled, right? You know what I mean? And now they lost McNeil. They lost James Houston, who was their best pass rusher in some ways last year. I don't...
No. Hutchinson was their best pass rusher. Come on.
No, I said in some ways he's got a few more moves. Houston had a magical year last year. I don't know if he was going to repeat it or not, but Glenn deserves some credit for helping Houston along last year. They lost four of their best defensive players. That's a fact. So what you're saying is the fact that they lost those guys and they somehow gotten worse is an indictment on Aaron Glenn?
Yeah, they've lost players. That is definitely the saving grace that he has, that he can use to defend his job, or Campbell can use it to not have to fire him. As well, you had quite a bit of injuries, especially in the secondary. Yeah, but I just don't. And you know what? Anzalone has played really well. Obviously, he's coming off the hand thing. didn't have a great game Sunday, but he's played much better with better health. But yeah, I mean, I don't know.
He got moved around, by the way.
At the end of the day, injuries can't, I don't know if they're enough to save your job. Losing CJ Gardner-Johnson, it's not like you're losing Darrelle Revis, that's tough. It's tough to lose him, but the defense I just don't think the defense should be struggling quite this much. He's not making enough of a difference, I think, with the personnel that he has.
Anzalone has gotten better, by the way. Who gets the credit for that? A lot. Yeah, he has. And partly because he got moved, which was Aaron Glenn's decision. No, that might have been Campbell's decision. I don't know. Maybe it was a collective decision. I mean, like Campbell said the other day, people are starting to turn on Ben Johnson a little bit. The fans are starting to get frustrated, especially the red zone plays and the lack of red zone success, that sort of thing. They've not liked the way he's called the games the last few weeks. And that's what happens. People turn, just like you're turning to Aaron Glenn, the fan base, a good chunk of the fan base is starting to get frustrated with Johnson because they're not scoring like they were. And that's what you do. You turn to the coordinator. All right. I don't know how fair or not that is. But, I don't know how fair or not that is. All I know is that the linebackers' play has gotten better. Is that just the linebackers coach? Because Barnes is better. Campbell's starting to look better. Right? Anzalone's played the best ball of his life. Derek Barnes is on the field regularly now, making plays. And Campbell's gotten a little bit better as the season's gone on. So who gets credit for that?
Dan Campbell.
Yeah. I'm not trying to defend Aaron Glenn. His defense has not been good. There's no getting around that. Why that's the case, that's the more interesting argument, I guess, or discussion. But, so where are you with the Lions overall? What do you think? They're going to win the division? They're going to hold on to the division? They're going to limp into the playoffs? They're going to respond Saturday night against Denver and regain some momentum, beat Minnesota twice, have a decent showing in Dallas, but lose?
They've got two good teams left here with Denver and Dallas. And the big one is Dallas. I mean, the Denver one can go either way, but the Dallas one is really going to, Dallas might be the best team in the NFL right now.
They look good.
It's going to be so hard to maybe, I'm going to say it's a moral victory to not get embarrassed at Dallas at this point. I think Aaron Glenn might try to fake a kind of an injury or something and not go to that game because they might score 50. It's just not going to be pretty. So that's the most interesting game. It's a precursor. It's a pre-playoff game to me. It's a potential matchup in the playoffs, but this is a legitimate, bona fide playoff team that everybody's scared of right now. I don't know if people are really that scared of the Lions, but the Lions are just, I've said this many times, it's where their offense takes them. They're only going to go as far as the offense.
True.
The defense, if the defense can do a little bit, that'll help them go farther, but the offense has to just do a lot. So I don't know, maybe it'll be a 50-48 loss in Dallas and everybody be like, well, okay, our offense can still, churn out a bunch of, I don't see that happening, but the offense, if it catches fire, they're relatively healthy. So I don't have the trust in this team right now. I don't know if limping into the playoffs is quite the way I'd put it, but what do you think? It's just, I don't know I'm not convinced of what this team can do at this point.
I think, and I wrote about this, it's just, as good as their offense is, it's a very intricate offense. And to the credit of Ben Johnson and Dan Campbell and even Brad Holmes, right? They unless you have an elite quarterback who can make, right? And there are not very many of those guys. So how else do you win? What are the ways you're going to win? How are you going to build a team? And the way they build it has been really smart, and it's worked for the most part. And I wrote this. Fans know when Holmes and Campbell took over, they had three really good offensive linemen, and you would think, okay, that's great. Let's go someplace else. But they used their first pick to double down on that, and that's really worked. When they're healthy, that's the engine of the offense. That's what makes Jared Goff's play possible more than anything else. But we see what happens when they've been nicked up a lot. And you see the inconsistencies with that. When they're whole and intact, man, they're one of the best offenses in the league without a mobile quarterback, without a big arm quarterback, right? Because Goff is a really good decision maker, and he's really accurate if he gets time. And when he gets time, man, they look good, don't they?
Absolutely.
They look really good, actually. I mean, it's great even at times, But it's such a fine line. And Campbell talked about that after the game. He's like, we're a rhythm timing offense. If we don't do everything right, we can't overcome even a 5-yard false start.
Yeah.
And it's weird to say that about a dynamic offense, isn't it? That a false start penalty is going to submarine a drive, but it kind of feels like that, doesn't it? I mean, we witnessed that a couple of times actually in the last 3 weeks, 2 of the last 3 games. So if they're not humming, that's the thing. They got to be healthy, mostly healthy for that. So I don't know. It's a credit to Johnson and to Campbell and to Holmes and to Goff and all these, the young skill guys on offense. It's a credit to all of them for making it work the way they have and for building out the way they have without having, Patrick Mahomes or whatever, Joe Burrow. And they deserve a tremendous amount of credit for that because it's driven this rebuild. And I would hate to see that for Lions fans who've had so much joy and fun this year to have it peter out into a 1-3, and then all of a sudden they're on the road for their playoff game and they're losing to they're not going to lose to the Packers. Wouldn't that be something though if their home game playoff game is the Packers and they lose to them again?
That's the thing. I think that as much as, that's the scenario. Or even the Vikings. I mean, the 3 teams, right? Either division team or the Rams. That's what Lions fans are.
Would that be the most painful, Carlos? The Rams.
Stafford comes in here and throws 500, and that would probably be if you ask the Lions fan, that'd be their nightmare. I think it'd be their nightmare scenario, right?
Probably more so than Green Bay. Losing to Green Bay again at home. That would be painful too. Probably
that'd be up there. That Green Bay
it's hard to say, isn't it? It's hard to say.
Yeah.
I don't know. Real quickly because we want to get to the favorite thing, and I want to get you out of here. I know. What's your thought on Jared Goff and his play the last month or so? The turnovers. I mean, they're not all his fault, obviously, but a lot of them are.
He had that one crazy, that streak of not throwing an interception. Which I guess you just expect that to keep going. And it went on for so long. I guess he's atoning for that, right? He's making up for it by having all these drops and picks and things. And he plays well enough to give them a chance. He can make big plays. He throws into tight windows. I think right after he threw the pick on Sunday, he came back on, maybe it was the next drive. He threw a really nice ball into a tight window.
Beautiful.
I think it was a touchdown pass. And that's what you want under your quarterback. You don't want a guy who's going to be gun shy and scared or making them, and that's why I think it works, and I know it's part of the coaching. It's part of Ben Johnson and Dan Campbell telling him, don't be afraid, to do this. You can't live in fear out there. And he's talked about it before. He can live with that, and I think that's the right way to do it. And I think you have enough pieces that, Jameson Williams is coming along a little bit here and there. We see flashes, and I think next year could be a very interesting year for Jameson Williams. But
absolutely,
Goff, absolutely. I mean, would he be the quarterback I picked for my team? No. I want a more dynamic quarterback for sure. Some mobility.
You've been consistent about that, haven't you?
I have, and I want
to point that out to our listeners. You've been consistent about that from the start.
Yeah, and even though their movement has been kind of people are more worried about it, and the Justin Fields thing, and you see Lamar Jackson's turning into a pocket guy, and it's, I don't know. I guess just as a consumer of football, a fan, whatever, I want to see dynamic play. I think that's just way more interesting than a traditional pocket passer. He is who he is. And I think he does well with what he has. And Ben Johnson knows how to use him. And that's the worrisome part is when Ben Johnson leaves, what's going to happen? Are they going to, hopefully he's going to leave the blueprints behind so the next coordinator can come in and say, all right, just Campbell tells him, just do this. This worked with Goff. Let's do this. But I don't know. I mean, you wrote about him. Do you think he has enough to take the Lions deep into the playoffs?
Well, first of all, is the defense going to be better than it is? I mean, that, right? So if the defense, they don't need an elite defense, but they need the defense to be better than it's been. If that's the case, they somehow get a few of these players back, or even if we're talking down the road next year, then yeah, as long as everything's okay around him. I mean, that was the point I was trying to make with the margin for error for Goff is just narrow because of what you say about being a dynamic playmaker. Here's the other thing too, and you don't have to be Lamar Jackson. or Justin Fields, right? Or even run like Brock Purdy or Josh Allen, who can really move. It's
Brock Purdy.
You could be, I mean, no, but he's got some dynamic qualities to him.
Sure.
You know, for whatever he kind of does. It's
Mr. Irrelevant. You aspire to be Mr. Irrelevant.
It's funny, but you can still be like Joe Burrow. You know, the thing about golf, it's not that forget the fact that he can't get out and really throw on the run. He does once in a blue moon, but you know, he's not dynamic like that. It's what made Tom Brady so great was his ability to feel and shift within the pocket. He was slow, but he could just move within the pocket, and then the processing ability was just lightning quick. And so if you can't get out like the playmakers you're talking about, like Mahomes, all these guys, then you got to be able to shift in the pocket really quick and see the game like a computer processor, like Brady did. And obviously that's rare. That combination is really just that sixth sense in the pocket with that processing. That's rare. But he is a good decision maker, and he's accurate. And when he has time, it's weird because he throws a lot of wobbly balls. He also is capable of throwing really nice balls, and he squeezes them in sometimes. Like, ooh, you know, he does that well. But everything has to be perfect, don't you think?
I don't know about perfect, but it has to be stable. It has to be stable around him.
Yeah, no, for sure. We'll see. Look, they could come out and look good against Denver, knock out the Vikings, put up a respectable showing in Dallas, beat the Vikings again, and the conversation is different. You're feeling different than you're 12-5 at that point, right? I mean, it's capable. All of a sudden, they're like, oh, they're not going to. The fan base, and you know, they're Lions fans, but I've been hearing the last couple of days, so they're not going to win another game, or they're going to be 1-3, and I understand that, right? I mean, it's baked in here. But they could go 3-1. And the conversation's different, right? There's a little momentum. So, yeah. All right, we got to get you going. But I want to hear your favorite thing before you go.
Yeah, that's an easy one, actually. Is last week, Shawn, there's a place downtown in Detroit. It's called Little Caesars Arena. They play hockey there, ice hockey for you, because I know there's roller hockey too. But ice hockey, and there's a team called the Red Wings. They play down there. And, you know, I went down there. I'll send you the MapQuest directions if you ever feel like going. But it was Patrick Kane's debut with the Red Wings. They played the San Jose Sharks. It was a wild game. They lost in overtime. And it was nutty.
Weren't they up 4 goals?
They were up 4-0, and they blew it, and the Sharks came back, and it was crazy. I don't know how many goals in 3 minutes, like 7 goals or something in 3 minutes. It was crazy, but it was fun. But the thing about it was, it reminded me. We've gotten glimpses of this, but it reminded me of the excitement of the days when they were really rolling. When Gene Myers, our old boss, would force you to go down and write about the Wings.
I lived down there. It's funny, in that old Snicky arena.
Yeah, Kirkland Crawford, our editor, is just too nice of a guy to force you to do anything. But yeah, it was a fun time, and it was a cool vibe, and I just missed it. I hope we see more of that. They're obviously playing really well right now, so it's something to look forward to, depending on how long this Lions playoff run goes, and we'll see what happens with Michigan football. But I think they're the next ones who we're seeing them have that potential to maybe possibly lure Shawn Windsor to come watch an ice hockey game down.
I can't believe you don't think it's the Pistons, man. I love to kid you about not knowing anything about sports. Now I really think you know nothing about sports. If you can't see the Pistons are the next great title team in this town, that's unbelievable, Carlos. Just when I'd relax and thinking, this is my brother, my pal. It's one of my favorite people.
By the way, one quick question. What do you think of the in-season tournament for the NBA? What is?
I thought it was kind of fun. I mean, I'm not
stupid.
I'm a silly old traditionalist with some things, and maybe it's just I'm getting older in my eyesight. I hated the courts. They bothered me. They were distracting. I did not like the courts at all. What I loved was the spirit of the competition, not just in Vegas, but you know, they had home and away games for a few weeks and pool play, so to speak. It was kind of weird. But whenever I watched a game that was an in-season tournament game, they were good. I mean, it felt like they felt like playoff games, and that was kind of fun. So kudos to the NBA for getting that. I mean, you could say, hey, well, why don't they play like that all the time? But it's the same thing's true in the NHL, right? You just, some nights you're just not, So I like that part of it. It was fun to see that juice. You know, if you just like watching the hoops. But the Vegas part of it was, actually, I didn't get to see that. But in any case, my favorite thing is I want my favorite thing to be, can we not go to the game Saturday night? Can we watch it together, maybe do some questions, and let me cook for you and hang out over here? We'll still do our work, but can we just let Dave Burkett and Jeff Seidel and Mitch and whoever else? We want to cook. Yeah. We want to cook together and hang out, and we'll write. We'll do our thing. But would that be great?
I actually I hate working late. I'm like, we whined about this before. We're not getting home till 2 a.m. at the earliest, probably. You probably later because you live farther away. But it's a long day. But it's a fun environment. It's a cool.
The environment's great. Yeah, the environment's
like a Monday night game, right? So
for sure,
I like that atmosphere. I mean, I'm a sucker for fun atmospheres.
No, it is a fun atmosphere for sure. And we've been fortunate to be able to be part of a lot of them around here over the years, different teams that we cover. But okay, real quickly, I had too many things to choose from. I ended up, thanks to you, Carlos, and I'll tell the listeners, I don't know where this is going to go. I don't want to say too much, but I've been kind of working on and off about a project that involves food in the Big Ten, and we'll see what happens with it. But it's thanks to my buddy Carlos here that I'm even dabbling in the possibility. And I was in Champaign, Illinois, a couple hours south of Chicago, home of the University of Illinois, working on that. When was that? Tuesday. I guess Monday, Tuesday. It was a quick turnaround. And there's some great stuff from that. Maybe I'll talk about that later. But my favorite thing was just hanging out with the Lions fans. Saturday night, downtown Chicago, I was in a restaurant. They kind of took over. There were chants. It was great. And I thought it was fun because there's a place called the Weber Grill. The Weber Grill, of course, is made in a suburb of Chicago. It's a very Chicago thing. And Lions fans are like, nope. This is our restaurant tonight. This is our downtown. The next morning, all over Soldier Field, all around on the parking lots, I hung out with all these tailgaters, planting their flags, talked to people that came from Detroit, from the suburbs, from Mount Pleasant, from Colorado, from all over the country. And it was great. And it was just, they talked about how much fun this fall has been. We just spent an hour or whatever talking about, oh my God, what's going to happen? Is the sky falling? These people have just spent the last 2.5 months living one of the most joyous and fun seasons in memory. And if, whatever happens from here on out, it's not going to change that part of it, right? It might change how you look back on it, but it's not going to change that part of it. And that was really fun. And I'm hoping to be able to write about that experience and sort of try to capture some of that for our readers. But that was my favorite thing. Just all that conviviality. It was really something.
Conviviality. That's my new favorite thing, that word. Yeah. All right. Well, I got to get out of here, Shawn. So let's wrap it up. We got to thank our most important person. It's actually not a listener.
Robin.
It's producer Robin Chan, who edits us, cuts us off, cleans up the audio. It doesn't like that you turn away from your mic all the time. So, but then his bosses are really important too. Kirkland Crawford and Anjanette Delgado, executive producers, and then editor of the Free Press, Nicole Avery Nichols. But we might as well throw your buddies, all the fans that you hung out with at the Weber Grill, the listener, right?
Absolutely, the listener, the Weber. Yeah, they were chanting "Let's go Lions" in the Weber Grill. So they that was wild, actually. So there you go. Yeah, we want to thank those folks, the folks that travel from all over the country to go see this team that brings so much emotion one way or the other to so many, and that's probably why y'all are listening. So thank you. Who else do we need to thank? I want to thank you personally. Right?
Oh yeah, thank you
for making this possible. And you can find us wherever you find your favorite podcast. When you get there, subscribe, rate us, tell us what you think. We're grateful for your listenership. And until Saturday night, Carlos, when we're back in person together doing a post game at Ford Field, and we'll see what the mood is. But until then, thanks for joining us, and we'll be back soon with more Free Press Sports with Carlos and Shawn.